Well, it's a different Luke. In the original films, I had a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I imagined, he went off as a Jedi Master, maybe opened an academy, and basically became the Pope of Jedis. But to see him now in such a broken state, so depressed and so disillusioned, it was hard for me to accept. I said to Ryan, I'm sorry, Jedis don't give up. That's one of my big problems here. I mean, even if he did something as terrible as mistaking the chosen one and being wrong about it and given rise to the potential Darth Vader of the new generation, he would double down and try and make right what he did wrong. So I said to Ryan, I have that big problem, but it's not my story anymore. Really, what I've been doing in those 30 years is really not important to the audience in this particular story. And I have to, let go of the past. This is the new generation. And Ryan and JJ should be able to tell these stories the way they want and not listen to an old crank like me. I think the world of Rian Johnson. I said to him, I totally disagree with what you think about Luke.
Figuring out where does it make sense for his head to be at, figuring out what part he was going to play in this film, that for me was kind of the big gorilla of this movie.
Luke says, it's time for the Jedi to end. Huh?
Once I cracked that, then I felt like, okay, I think now we can get into it and tell our story.
How could this happen? What could have happened to this guy that he would wind up the most hopeful, optimistic guy, now this bitter old cynic?
And this is the chapter where we're going to challenge all these characters. We have to really push them to extremes, and that means the actors are going to be asked quite a lot.
I think being pushed out of your comfort zone is a good thing, because if I were just another benevolent Jedi training young Padawans, we've seen it, and nobody can do it better than Alec Guinness, and I shouldn't even try. It's not the Luke from the original trilogy. It's the Luke from the new generation.
In all of those situations, the humor is just completely out of place. It did not belong in the movie.
When Luke throws the lightsaber,
oh yeah,
there was like dead silence, and I heard, they gave the movie to some guy and said, make a movie and just do whatever the fuck you want. And it's the complete opposite. So no one has the right to complain now if you complained about The Force Awakens. You know what I mean? I mean, there is an ending to her character. Ironically, she's the one that lives out of Luke, Han, and Leia. It's like someone shot John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison all in one night. Have you seen Star Wars?
Luke jerking off creatures.
I didn't forget.
Oh my God!
Like
no, I
fucking
forgot.
milking
I
them.
forced that out of my mind.
I
And
did
he
not
was-
forget. Yeah, I was
And he's like
trying
suckling on the nipple.
And they like
Okay,
zoomed
that's-
in on the teats, and he was like,
Yeah. And then
yeah.
and even better is that creature looks over at Ray and is like, so
You want some too?
so
What the
for
fuck
you.
was that about?
what the fuck was that about?
I don't give a goddamn anymore, really.
So either people at Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, and your writing team that are currently handling this expanded universe of Star Wars films have either lost the plot entirely or you don't care. What the hell were they thinking? Were they just so anxious to get rid of the Skywalker saga that they couldn't give it a proper finale that you would care about? It's mediocre in ways that it should not have even been allowed to happen.
I mean, it's when the movie ended, I'm just sitting there staring at the screen, and I'm just like, what? It's so disappointing.
You discovered Luke, obviously, is a hermit on this island, that there's so much unsaid about where he's been and what he's done. And actors like to write their own backstories. You know, you want to figure out what you've done and where you've been. But I realized that wasn't really important to the story of Force Awakens. I still made it up myself. And, I tried to show it to JJ, and he, was accommodating, but basically patted me on the head, gave me a cookie, and made me go away.
Did your vision and Ryan's vision, did it coincide with the way that Luke ends up in this film that you thought it would all these years later?
No.
No, not at all.
How much of Luke Skywalker did you discuss with Colin Trevorrow?
I had discussions with Colin, and I was very excited because we were on the same page in terms of where we wanted to go and how we wanted to see Luke in a way we've never seen him, even in this current version. But I don't know what went on. I don't want to know because there's no upside to that story. I mean, I like all those people. I like Kathy, and I like Lawrence Kasdan, and all the people that were involved in that decision. But sometimes ignorance is bliss. And they don't tell me anything. I said, even if you don't plan to tell the audience, I have to know for myself. I made up a whole backstory of what happened between getting my medal, and yes, I agree, the Wookiee should have gotten one too. But you're right. I said, because if you don't tell the audience, it's not about me anymore. It's really not my story. It's the story of Rey and Finn and Poe and all of them, which is the way it should be. But you'll find out more. I don't think anyone will ever say, that's exactly what I wanted. But still, no, I thought that was a great missed opportunity. But listen, as I told JJ and I told Ryan, I have so many really terrible ideas I'd love to share with you, because out of 100, maybe you'll find one you kind of like.
What is it that you love about the Star Wars community that keeps you just coming back and giving?
Well, they're just amazing. They're so kind and so passionate, and you know, they support you through thick and thin, and their enthusiasm is infectious.
Hopefully, I mean, it's easy to assume that Luke's got a little more to do this time around in this movie.
I always say I can promise you it's twice as big as my part in Force Awakens.
Wow, can you even imagine? Can you even imagine a part that long, of that magnitude? I have to wonder,
that magnitude. I have to wonder,
There is no wrong tonight.
the last time you were doing this, is there anything that you want us to know going into The Last Jedi? Anything you want to tell the audience or the world about this one in comparison to the other ones?
It's the longest one.
I love the line that the greatest teacher is failure. What failure have you ultimately learned the most from?
Great question.
Do you have enough time for this? Starting with this answer. That's it. May the Force be with you.
Maybe up for that? No?
Again, I wasn't listening. What is
This is the best technique in the world.
Exactly.
I'm going to start using this at press
I've transported myself to a galaxy far, far from London.
Son, you've got a way to fall. They'll tell you where to go, but they won't know. Son, you'd better take it all. They'll tell you what they know, but they won't show. Oh, I've got something in my throat. I need to be alone while I you've got a way to kill. They're picking on you still, but they don't know. So They'll tell you what is yours, but they take mine. Oh, I've got something in my throat. I need to be alone while I suffer. Oh, there's a hole inside my bones. I need to stay afloat for the summer, Lord. I've got something in my throat. I need to be alone while I suffer. There's a hole inside my bones. I need to stay afloat for the summer. Son, you better wait to fall. They'll tell you where to go, but they won't